Good morning, Drive Tribe. Welcome in. Welcome back. We are a little bit early. We're about 11 minutes early by my clock. Maybe my clock is wrong. Maybe my clock is right. We'll see. Today, we're going to answer one really important question. Is a shop vac a plumbing tool? And that will allow me to then describe to you the power of a great story. What does a story have? What are the elements of a story? What makes a story great? And why do we use stories and not just facts? It's said that a story can transform while a fact can inform. So on today, which is National World Theater Day, is World Theater Day, where we celebrate the power of storytelling, and those in the theater know that the great power of storytelling. They also know the great power of leaving one little sheet of paper left on the ground and how that can really trick the human brain. But it is said that you think of the human brain is wired for storytelling. Research shows that we remember information 22 times better when it's tied to a story. So with that in mind, let me give you a story of my own. Picture with me, if you will. Let's close our eyes. Let's get together, because it is actually neurologically proven that when a great story is told with all the details, that you actually will sync up with me. Isn't that weird? You'll be inside my mind for just a minute while the story is ongoing. So we're going to tell a story today of a time when a young man was in a bathroom at work. This young man had just been working at this office for about 2 months. This office used to be a townhouse. And every one of the little segments of this office, they'd knock down the walls between the townhouse and put a door in. And these offices only had one bathroom per gender, so one men's room, one women's room per little segment of this townhouse, because that's how townhouses work. You go downstairs, there's a second bathroom, but usually the most you'd ever have was 2 bathrooms on a floor. So this young man's going to go to lunch. This young man is me. This young man is about to go to lunch with his beautiful bride that he just got married to. And so he said, hey, let's go to the restroom before we go out to lunch and do things that we all have to do in the restroom that might be a bit embarrassing to share. And what this young man didn't know is the company that he worked for in an effort to save water, as well as in these particular toilets, had been set up as low-flow toilets. It was before the two-step flusher that it could be a 1 or a 2. No. This particular one was just a single flush type. So when he gets done doing the business that he has to do, the paperwork he has to do in the bathroom, he turns around to flush the toilet. He flushes the toilet, and to his dismay, the water stops to bubble up to the top. Knowing the tricks that his dad had taught him, he goes back there. He turns off the water as fast as he can, but he can't get it quite fast enough, so it's right at the top. And some discerning young person before, or a boss before, had put a plunger in the bathroom, knowing that such a situation may be what they face. And so he gets in there, and he's slow and gradually, and picture this with me. I'm in there, and I'm placing this plunger into the water, just hoping for no splashback or the air bubble to pop up and water to run out on the floor, because number one, nobody wants that on their shoes. But number two, that would be very embarrassing for me. I've only been here full-time for a few months in this new job, and I'm concerned about all the people. And by the way, being it was a 1-stall bathroom, I hear a knock. I'm in here. Just a minute. And they walk away. This was the second time I'd heard that knock. I know people are thinking, what's he doing in there? Why is it taking him so long? And so I'll get the plunger, and I'm trying to plunge the water, and nothing's happening. I can't get enough motion and suction to get the toilet unstopped, and I'm so concerned. And what do I do? Then suddenly a thought occurs to me. I know that just downstairs in my Nissan Rogue, in the Black Beauty that is the Nissan Rogue, sits the solution to all of my problems. I'd won it just recently, a week before, in the Dirty Santa contest, or whatever you want to call that, white elephant you may call it. I'd unwrapped it. I thought, never will I use that. I live in a townhouse myself. What do I need a shop vac for? But in this moment, that was my saving grace. And then as I'm thinking about that, I'm interrupted. What are you doing in there? I'll be out in just a minute. I come out. Everybody's standing around, staring. They're looking at the door. They're looking at me. I'm sweating. I've got on a button-down shirt. I've got my sleeves rolled up. It's a purple, beautiful purple shirt that I used to look good in. And I go downstairs and said, hey, y'all don't go in there for a minute. Go downstairs. I grab that shop vac. And it's got to be the biggest shop vac they make at Home Depot. I know it was a Black Friday sale, but this thing is huge. I come slugging it up the stairs, and of course the stairs are tight because it's a townhouse, after all, that was converted into an office. I walk past a bunch of people. What are you doing with it? They're giving me the look. What are you doing? What are you doing? I go in, and I'm like, all right. I get back in, and I forget to lock the door. That's a mistake. That'll come back to bite me later. I get in there. I'm like, okay, let's get this thing assembled. And as it was nobody's job to replace the light bulbs in this bathroom, only one of the three above the mirror is still working. The vent works. That's great. So we're getting some of the smell out, but there is one single light bulb, and that'll come back to bite me later. Little did I know that'll come back to bite me. I pull open the shop vac. I'm assembling the shop vac. I'm throwing plastic away. I'm making sure I don't put the filter on. I'm thinking about all the things you think about, but who has time for instructions? And neither could I read them in this moment of panic and sheer dismay. I'm sweating. I'm stressed. And I get the shop vac open. I put the hose on, and I'm ready to go. And I put it right there at the toilet. And that light came back to bite me. I put it on the blow side, not the suck side. Water's going everywhere. It's blown against the wall. It's hitting the floor. It's overflowing. I turn it off quickly, and I flip the hose around to the suck side, and I get it cleaned up. Suck everything up into the shop vac. I'm thinking I'm going to throw the shop vac away. It's a one-time use thing. That's all this is. I'm going to be happy because at the end of this, I get out of here and maybe with the least amount of embarrassment. But at this point, I've got sweat pooled around my shirt. It's see-through purple at this point. But I'm just so happy that this has worked. The shop vac has sucked up all the water and all the other junk. And I get the plunger and I plunge the toilet. And then I'm like, okay, now what do I do with the water that's in the shop vac? I got to pour it back into this toilet. So I open the toilet seat. By this time, it is just a complete commotion outside. There's pandemonium going on outside the door. They're laughing. They're joking. I can hear it all. And then the door opens. In pops a head with a cell phone. Thank goodness the iPhone was not prevalent at this point, but a cell phone pops in. Smile. I turn as I'm emptying out the shop vac, and a picture of me is taken. Click. And by that point, it's everybody knows. The embarrassment has been sealed. You just have to get over it. You have to embrace it. But I pour the water out, and then I have to deal with what I've created. There's water dripping from here to the downstairs. There's water under the toilet. I've got to clean up. So I get all the Clorox wipes. I clean everything because, a life lesson I learned a long time ago is try to leave things better than you found it and treat other people's stuff with respect. So this isn't my stuff. It's the company stuff. I'm cleaning it up. And then it hits me because I'm a germaphobe, by the way, that I've just been dealing with nastiness all this time. And I go, what do I do with this shop vac? I can't put it back in my car. And, thank goodness for a good dad. I call my dad. He's got a truck. I said, Dad, I can't explain, but you got to come get it. You just got to come get the shop vac. I'll explain later. I'll call you after I've cleaned all this mess up. But can you just Can you come over here? And so as I'm cleaning up, I hear, phone rings, go down, drop it off with him. And thank goodness for this great, great boss I had. She had already called and gotten clearance from the boss's boss, and that I could take the rest of the day off. But that's a great story about how a shop vac can be plumbing equipment, but also when you're under pressure, when you're in a situation, when there's a group of people and you feel like you're getting embarrassed, it is always a good idea to take a deep breath. Make sure that you're on the suck side, not the blow side. And read the instructions, people. That's what's important. And so when you see those as seen on TV stories about somebody dumping stuff all over the floor and whatever, they can happen to you, all right? The Flex Seal, the water pouring out, it can happen to you. And if you ever see an episode of a commercial about a shop vac with a man who's overflowed his toilet, maybe they've stolen my story. But that is the power of a good story. It can lead you from what we call Pain Island to Pleasure Island. And the boat is the product or the thing that you're offering as the storyteller. In this case, that was a shop vac. The shop vac took me from the Pain Island, the embarrassment of an overflowed toilet in an old townhouse that's converted into an office space, where I would make a lot of money for a company and I would do a lot of great things. But in the moment was a very embarrassing time. And it took me from that boat that is the shop vac, took me from Pain Island to Pleasure Island of the problem was solved, the issue was resolved, and now it makes for a great story to tell whenever I need to distract people from maybe a not so good day or take their mind off of a not so great situation. It's a great story for me, and I can take you from Pain Island of, hey, this has been a very boring day, nothing exciting has happened to me, or I'm having a really bad day. I did this embarrassing thing at work. Maybe you copied all when you shouldn't have on an email. Well, at least you didn't have to use a shop vac to clear a clogged toilet on your second month in a particular job. All right, so the leadership power of storytelling. Tuesday, we talked about follow through. We talked about turning ideas into action and how do you get people to buy in to your idea or the idea that you think matters to that group of people. And the way you do that is you tell a great story, because here's the truth. Data can persuade, but stories inspire change. If you think about it, how often things stick with you, it's typically when it's tied to a great story. So how do you make a great story? You make it relatable. Everybody's used a public restroom. Everybody's probably went to the bathroom at their office. You've been there before. Everybody, well, maybe only an unlucky few, has clogged a toilet in a very inopportune moment. It might be when you're visiting your relatives and you use their restroom, and now you got to deal with that. You got to sweat that out. It might be when you met your girlfriend's parents for the first time. That's a relatable story. So shop vac could use my story, but you make it relatable. You might say something like, our team needs to improve communication. Does that really sell anything? No. But if you say something to the effect of, hey, let me tell you about a time that I got this email. I got an email from the mortgage company that my escrow was going up. And as it was, I'd been ignoring that email. I'd set it up. I'd set up the JDog 2022 at whatever, hotmail.com. And that was supposed to be my junk email, but I accidentally used it on some official paperwork. And my escrow was changing, and I missed the email. And what did that mean? It means I got an overdraft because I didn't have the money put into that account that pays my mortgage, and they tried to take out that extra escrow they needed because my property taxes had went up and my insurance had went up, and I had to pay some penalties because of that. Now, I told you about the power of communication, about catching the emails, right? I said we need to improve our communication, but then I told you a story that sets that up about what failure in communication can cost you money. Now you've made it personal. That's a real moment, something that may have really happened to the leader. And then they take that and they make that stick and say, you know what happens when we miss emails? We lose money. You know what happens when we miss phone calls? We lose money. So here's how we're going to be sharper on that. Here's some tools we're going to use to make sure that the important emails do make it to you and that your spam emails get filtered out. So here's how we're going to do that. That's how you create a good story. You start with something that's relatable. Everybody has had a mortgage or has had a rent payment or other things, or maybe a medical bill, and frequently they've missed emails that were important. Maybe they got a ticket in the mail and they thought it was junk mail and they threw it away. You can make it relatable so that they can pull into the story. Then you create tension. What was the tension? The tension there was I missed an email and it cost me money. What's the challenge? What's the obstacle, right? And then there was a turning point. Okay, well, I went in and I updated my email to be a more easily monitored email, the one that comes to my phone, the one that I don't let junk email come into. Maybe you created some filters. So you talk and then you talk about your resolution. What did I learn? Don't use my junk email. That's all the junk goes to, that I sign up for all the promos and the free froyo and the 15% off. I don't use that email for important things. That was the resolution. So you can have that same conversation with your team. Let me give you an example. Steve Jobs, when he was introducing the iPhone, he doesn't go, oh, that's a mighty good phone there. It's got 2.1 megahertz gigabyte speed, and you're going to be able to run 5 apps at the same time because of this, that, and the other. No. He told you a story. He said, imagine with me, if you will, your music, your phone, your internet, all in your pocket at one place. Because back then, most people don't remember this. Maybe some do. Maybe some of my listeners do. Some of us, some of the younger folks may not. There was a time we didn't have an iPhone. We had an iPod. And there's a time before that, we didn't have an iPod. We had a Discman. And there's a time before that, we didn't have a Discman. We had a Walkman. And the Walkman had cassette tapes in it. And I'm sure that we could go further back from that. I don't think we ever had necessarily a portable way to play vinyl records where you wear it on your hip or anything. But the reality is, it used to be that our music and entertainment was all separate from our phone. And we had the Nokia brick phone, or we had the Motorola flip razor phone. You can see it when the flip phone came out. It went from being this brick of a phone to this nice, sleek, foldable phone. That was a revolution. And then for business people, used to have a PDA, a personal digital assistant, a PDA, and it was also separate from your phone. And you'd be sitting there just typing away on it. And guess what? A lot of them didn't have internet. So you had to like download things and then connect them with a cord to download the stuff to your computer. All that was done separately. But now Steve is saying, imagine, if you will, all these things. I'm going from listening to my music to taking a work call. I'm going from listening to my music. While I'm listening to my music, I'm over here, I'm popping over, and I'm looking something up on the internet. Maybe I'm Googling something. Google was popular at the time. Now we're all using ChatGPT to make some of those queries that we used to do on Google. But it wasn't about the data. It wasn't about the idea. It was the story of melting all those things together into one point. And he used emotion, and that's the third thing. You got to use emotion to drive action. Facts tell, but emotions sell. That's why when you're at the car dealership, they're trying to get you in the car. And they're asking you stories. Hey, why do you want this SUV? Why do you need the third row? You got kids? Oh, yeah, I do. And then they're getting you into, oh, well, Johnny, little Johnny, I know he plays soccer. Yeah, you got plenty of room back here for a couple soccer goals. What are we doing here? All of a sudden, you're imagining yourself riding around in this car, this leather wrapped around your seats. Oh, this feel. You know what? We actually have WeatherTech mats in this one, because I know little Johnny probably spills his drink. I know Darla loves dance. You can get plenty of dresses in the back there. Heck, you're the prop mom? Did you say you were the prop mom or prop dad? That's what you do? Oh, you build the props? Yeah, those seats lay down. You can get a full sheet of plywood back there. What are we doing? We're not talking about how many cubic feet are in the back. No. We're selling an emotion. You imagining your family riding in this car, going on vacation, going to and from school, going to and from the things they need to do. We don't say things like we need to work harder. We say like, hey, we're 3 steps away from something amazing. Let's not stop. Have you seen the progress? Look, just take 1 second. Let's look back at what we've done. Yesterday, I got the opportunity to do this. My team had solved 3 really tough problems in an hour and a half of being at work. And I was able to tell that story to them and to the people that we all report to in order to say, look at this. This is what makes my team valuable. This is what makes our team globally valuable, but also this makes us kick butt. This is what we do. We change what could have been a crap sandwich into a chicken salad sandwich, something you actually want, something you desire. I didn't say, well, they answered 25 emails very quickly. No. I told a story. Hey, this issue came up. We had 3 customers that wanted the same material. And because of the way our system works, this happened. But my team was able to go and find some other material that was being made and make sure that it got processed as the right package code for it to be able to be used for this order that could have been a problem. But it wasn't, because they took care of it, because they're paying attention, because they care. We got on the phone with the customer, explained the situation. That's how you change lives. Emotions sell, data tells. You need both. But the big takeaway here is you need to lead with stories and not just statements. You need to make them relatable. You need to create some tension and a resolution. And you need to, at the end, use emotion to drive action. We need to get people excited so that they'll get momentum and get movement. And you have to be excited as the leader in order to drive that. Don't just tell them, show them through the story and through your action. So what is the challenge for you today? The challenge for you today, what is one key message you need to communicate this week? And how can you turn it into a story and not just a statement? Who's one person you need to inspire? Go do that. And by the way, be a great listener. That's a little bonus for you. Listen to your team members. I promise you they're trying to tell you something. Don't get so caught up in the hustle and bustle that you can't take a minute and ask them questions, because they're gonna tell you something about what they're doing, about what's on their mind. It might be a personal story. Engage in that. And then either tell them a story or just listen to theirs. By being a good listener, you can also change their lives, because sometimes they don't have anybody else they feel like they can talk to. Okay? So that's what stories can do. It's really important that you create that tension, because that's really how you make the paradigm shift. With that, we're going to transition to the verse of the day. My bad. I love our music, but I didn't mean to play it right then. All right, so the verse of the day, the one I picked today, is Matthew 13:34. Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. If you see there, the greatest teacher of all time, Jesus, the most important figure in history, used storytelling, the power of storytelling, to relate to people. You think about the parable of the sower. You think about the parable of the talents. One hides their talents, one goes and uses their talents. God gave you talents to use. Just, jump short circuit to the moral there. You think about all the things you were taught as a child. The boy who cried wolf. Little Miss Muffet. All these the 3 little pigs. All these stories help us remember lessons in our lives. Don't lie. Don't build our house on out of straw. Build it out of something stable and sturdy. You can build it out of wood, but you may want to build it out of brick, depending on how hard the wolf's going to huff and puff. But that is the power of storytelling. When we were talking, do you have an embarrassing story? Do you have a story that you now lean back on and use? I think that story has made me come to realize, on a personal level, first of all, shop vac is a plumbing tool, which years later was confirmed for me when our maintenance department brought one in to clean a clogged toilet. And I looked around at everybody that had been in that room and said, y'all told me shop vac wasn't a plumbing tool. What's he doing? He's a plumber. So, sorry, got off on a tangent. Storytelling is powerful. And again, it's 22 times more likely for people to remember the information you give them when you share it with a story. So keep that in mind as you go through your day. As we always say, we love you. We want to see you be successful. That's why we do this show. That is the story of the H2 show, is sharing. A idea, thoughts, experiences are better when they're shared with others so that others may learn by your mistakes, your faults, your follies, or your successes, and they can ultimately take those things, learn the lessons they want from them, and go succeed themselves. So with that, make choices, make good choices today. Do not make excuses. Go out and tell a good story. Make sure that it's got it's relatable, that it's got a rise and a fall, a problem, a challenge, and a resolution, and make sure that you use emotion in your story. Don't just tell it like a robot or like some AI. Use that human touch that you have to inspire others and transform using stories. Don't just inform using data. I love you. I want you to be successful. We don't say goodbye here. We say see you next time. Tomorrow at lunch, we're having a Faith 2 show. Those have been very well attended. I will be talking with Will. We'll be talking about what does the Bible say about our health and our responsibility to invest in our health and our body, and what does God say about that, and what are some scriptures we can study. And then, we'll give you some tips and tricks if we have any. I'm not the healthiest of people, so it'll, in some ways it'll be a do as I say, not as I do, or maybe it'll be a, hey, I need to get convicted of this and I need to get after it too. But see you real soon. Come back tomorrow, and then next week we'll have another live concert as well. Look forward to y'all attending that. But
at the end of the day, the day got to end.